It starts the same way every time. You're texting her, she responds slow. You compliment her, she smiles politely. You try to keep the conversation alive, but it always feels like you're one step behind. Like she's there, but not really interested. You've probably wondered, is it my looks? My status? Am I just saying the wrong things? Then you meet a guy who's different. He's not flashy. He doesn't try too hard. In fact, he barely speaks. But when he does, everything changes. Women lean in. They laugh. They remember him. One night, you watch him in action. She pushes back. He leans back calmly. She talks fast. He pauses, then drops one simple sentence. And in that moment, everything shifts. Her energy, her eyes, her posture. You realize it's not the words themselves. It's the precision, the tone, the timing. It's the way those words cut through the noise and speak directly to her instincts. There are 5 words, just 5, that when spoken by the right man, in the right way, can bypass a woman's defenses and trigger deep emotional attraction. But most men misuse them or never use them at all. And what if I told you these 5 words come straight from the heart of Stoic power? Most people speak to be heard, but a Stoic man? He speaks to connect. Words in the hands of a man with presence are like keys. Keys that open emotional doors most men don't even know exist. Let me be clear. You don't need to be rich. You don't need a 6-pack or a flashy lifestyle. And you don't need to memorize pickup lines from some guy on the internet. What you need is emotional precision, because the right words delivered in the right moment, with the right energy, they don't just sound good. They hit her nervous system like a lightning bolt. They bypass the surface-level filters and speak directly to her instincts. Now, let's break it down. Every woman, every human is scanning the world for signals. Signals of safety. Signals of confidence. Signals that say, this person knows who they are. And guess what? When your words are loaded with certainty, restraint, and self-respect, she feels it. That's the Stoic edge. You don't say more. You say less, but what you say carries weight. I understand you. That's not a long sentence, but when you say it like you mean it, it becomes a mirror reflecting her emotions. Back to her dot, now imagine stacking 5 of those lines, 5 magic phrases that make her pause, look at you differently, and think, wait, who is this guy? See, you don't need volume. You need impact. You don't need to flood her with attention. You need to speak in a way that feels intentional. And when you do that, you create a powerful shift. A shift from chasing her to magnetizing her dot. So here's the truth. Most guys are loud with nothing to say. But the man who says little but means every word, she remembers him, and that's what today's video is about. The 5 magic words that, when rooted in Stoic confidence, will change the way women respond to you forever. Let's break them down one by one dot in a world full of noise. A man who is calm becomes magnetic, because here's the truth. Attraction isn't just about how you look. It's about how you make her feel, especially in your presence. And nothing, I mean nothing, creates that feeling more powerfully than a man who is in control of himself. This is what Stoicism teaches: emotional control, detachment from outcome, speaking with intention. Let's break that down. Emotional control. Most men react. She delays her text, he panics. She pulls back, he overcompensates. She tests him, he crumbles. But a Stoic man? He doesn't chase approval. He doesn't argue to be right. He responds, not reacts. That energy creates deep safety. And when a woman feels safe around you, safe, emotionally, she opens up. Detachment from outcome. The more you need her to respond a certain way, the more she feels pressure. And pressure kills attraction, But when you say something and remain detached from how she reacts, that's power. That's mystery. That's rare, It says. I'm good either way. I'm already whole. And paradoxically, that's what pulls her in. Speaking with intention, Stoics don't talk to fill space. They speak when it matters. That's what makes their words stick. Because in a world of over-talkers, the man who speaks intentionally stands out. So when you say something like, I respect that, or let's take our time, it doesn't just land, it echoes. It stays with her long after the conversation ends. So why are these 5 magic words so powerful? Because each one is rooted in a Stoic principle. They're not clever tricks. They're emotional signals, signals of presence, signals of strength, without force, signals that say, you don't need to figure me out, you just need to feel me. And that's what makes a woman drawn to you. Not because you said something impressive, but because you said it with calm clarity, and then you let go. Now, let's break down the first magic word and how to use it with Stoic impact. Word number 1. I understand you. Let's be real. Most guys listen just enough to say something. Back, they nod, they smile. But in the background, they're already forming their next reply. You've probably done this before, too. Not because you don't care, but because you think impressing her is more important than feeling her. But here's the truth. A woman doesn't want to be fixed. She doesn't even need a solution. She wants to be felt, to be seen, to be understood. That's where this first magic phrase comes in. I understand you. Now, I don't mean saying this casually. Not like a lazy, yeah, I get it. I mean saying it with weight, with presence, with your full attention locked in, no distractions, no judgment. Because when you say these 3 words and you mean them, it hits deeper than any compliment ever could. Let's paint the picture. She's telling you something vulnerable. Maybe she's talking about a rough day, a childhood memory, or the way something made her feel. Now, most guys, they jump in too fast. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Or, here's what you should do. But you pause. You breathe. You look her in the eye and say, I understand you. And in that moment, she feels safe, because suddenly she's not performing. She's not explaining herself. She's being received. Now, let's break down why this phrase is so powerful. First, it's rare. Most women are used to being talked over or talked around. They're not used to being genuinely heard. So when you reflect back her experience with quiet presence, you stand out. You become the exception. Second, this phrase signals emotional maturity. You're not reacting. You're not judging. You're simply holding space. That's Stoic. That's masculine. That's high-value energy. But here's the key. It only works when it's authentic. You can't fake this. You have to actually care about what she's saying. You have to want to understand her. So when you say those 3 words, let it come from stillness, not from strategy. Let your body language match your tone. Slow down your speech. Be fully there. But here's the key. It only works when it's authentic. You can't fake this. You have to actually care about what she's saying. You have to want to understand her dot. So when you say those 3 words, let it come from stillness, not from strategy. Let your body language match your tone. Slow down your speech. Be fully there. Now, are you ready for the next phrase? Because it's the one that signals protection, leadership, and certainty. It's the phrase that makes her relax and feel safe around you, even if everything else in her life feels chaotic. Let's talk about it. Word number 2, I got this. There's a moment in every woman's life when things feel chaotic, uncertain, out of control. And in that moment, the last thing she needs is another guy who panics, overthinks, or makes her feel like she has to lead the way. That's where you step in. Not with noise, not with bravado, but with calm certainty. Just 3 words, I got this. That's it. When said with stoic energy, these words change everything. You're not just talking. You're anchoring. You're saying, I'm steady, even when the world isn't. You can lean on me, but I'll never lean too hard on you. These words speak to her nervous system, not her logic, because here's what most men miss. A woman isn't always looking for someone to solve her problems. What she's craving is emotional leadership. She wants to know, can this man hold the moment when I can't? Can he stay calm even when I'm not? When you say, I got this, you give her permission to relax into her femininity, to stop problem solving, to stop carrying everything, to just be. Stoic insight. Control doesn't mean domination. It means direction. It means being the calmest person in the room, even when the room is falling apart. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to puff your chest. You just need to own the moment. Let's say you're on a date. Something goes wrong, reservation lost, rain pours, plans crumble. Most guys, they start apologizing, panicking, trying too hard to fix it. You smile. You look at her and you say, don't worry, I got this. And just like that, she exhales. She trusts. Now here's the deeper layer. I got this isn't just for external situations. It works on emotional storms too. She might feel overwhelmed, insecure, unsure of your connection. You don't dismiss her. You don't emotionally retreat. You hold the space. You lean in gently and say, I got this. And when those words are true, not performative, not robotic, they calm everything down. Because they tell her, you don't have to hold it all. I'll meet you where you are. So say it slowly. Say it with presence. Say it from a grounded place. I got this. 3 words that signal leadership, protection, certainty, not from ego, but from internal strength. Because when you take control of the moment, she stops needing to, and that creates space for connection, softness, and desire. You don't have to say much, but when you say this, mean it, because confidence spoken calmly, that's unforgettable. Now, let's move to the next phrase. It's bold. It's unexpected. And it shows her you're not afraid to disagree with quiet strength. Word number 3. That's not true. Most guys avoid conflict with women. They nod. They agree. Even when something feels off, They stay silent. Why? Because they're afraid. Afraid to rock the boat. Afraid to be labeled difficult. Afraid she might walk away. But here's the secret. Women aren't drawn to men who agree with everything. They're drawn to men who stand in truth, even when it's uncomfortable. That's where this third phrase comes in. That's not true. Now wait. You're not being arrogant. You're not trying to win. You're simply showing that you have a mind of your own and the confidence to use it. This phrase works because it communicates something powerful: boundaries, clarity, and quiet conviction. And that's rare. Let's say she says something like, "All men are the same," or "You don't really care." Now, the average guy either goes defensive. "What? Of course I care. Why would you say that?" Or he shuts down completely. But you hold your ground. You lean in calmly, meet her with steady eyes, and say, "That's not true." Just those 3 words. No over-explaining. No raised voice. Just solid presence. Here's what happens in her mind. You're not reactive. You're not rattled. You're anchored. And that triggers something deeper. She sees you as someone who can't be easily swayed. Someone who's strong enough to disagree without disrespect. And here's the Stoic principle underneath this phrase: truth over approval. You speak not to impress, but to be authentic. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That includes the reverse. If something is not true, you don't let it pass just to keep the peace. You speak calmly, clearly, with full emotional control. That's Stoicism in action. Now, don't misuse this. "That's not true" is not a weapon. It's not about being cold or dismissive. It only works when it comes from genuine care, not ego. You're not trying to dominate the conversation. You're guiding it back to reality. You're saying, "I see where you're coming from, but I don't agree." And when she hears that, she may resist at first. She may challenge you. But beneath that surface, something shifts. She starts to respect you, even admire you, because you're not just another guy saying what she wants to hear. You're someone who says what she needs to hear when it counts. So next time you hear something that isn't aligned with reality, breathe, center yourself, and calmly say, "That's not true." Then pause. Let it land. Because when you speak the truth without fear, you create space for real connection. She may not always agree, but you never forget the man who had the strength to stand his ground with gentleness, not force. Truth builds trust, and trust builds attraction. Now, let's move to the next phrase, one that disarms her completely, because it's rooted in deep respect without losing your power. Let's talk about it. Word number 4. I respect that. You don't always have to agree with her. In fact, you shouldn't, because relationships without friction are relationships without depth. But here's the key. You can disagree without disrespect. You can set boundaries without starting a war. You can challenge her without ever raising your voice, and it all starts with this simple phrase: I respect that. Now, don't underestimate these 3 words, because when used right, they do something rare. They validate her without compromising you. You're saying, "I see where you're coming from, even if I don't stand in the same place." that balance respect without submission. That's what makes a woman lean in. Here's why this phrase is so powerful. It diffuses tension. It tells her, you're safe to be real with me, even if we don't see the world the same way. You're not trying to win. You're not trying to dominate. You're not trying to please. You're simply recognizing her perspective with emotional control. And trust me, that's rare. Think about it. Most men take disagreement personally. They either get defensive or they back down to keep the peace. You stay centered. You don't flinch. You just say, I respect that. Then continue holding your frame. That phrase builds trust, because now she knows she can bring her full self to you without fear of being shut down. But here's the deeper layer. When you say, I respect that, you're not just respecting her. You're respecting yourself, because you're proving you don't need to overpower anyone to feel powerful. That's real masculinity. That's Stoicism in action. Stoic men don't need to shout. They don't need to win every argument. They know that power is felt most in the quiet moments, in the pauses, in the space between words. That's the art. Acknowledgement without surrender. Now let's look at when to use this phrase. She's venting about work. You don't fully get it, but you see it matters to her. Say it. I respect that. Sounds like it means a lot to you. She shares a belief you don't share. You don't fake agreement, but you don't belittle it either. You just nod and say, I respect that, and here's how I see it. It's disarming, it's mature, and most importantly, it's rare. Here's what most men miss. You don't need to always lead the conversation. Sometimes the highest form of leadership is giving her space to be heard without judgment. And when you do that, you create something few men ever give her. Relief. She doesn't feel attacked. She doesn't feel tested. She just feels seen. And that creates emotional connection. So the next time you feel tempted to prove your point, try this instead. Pause. Breathe. Then say, I respect that. Because when a woman feels respected by a man who doesn't agree with her, that's when trust deepens. That's when attraction evolves. That's when she says to herself, this one is different. Now let's go even deeper. Because the final phrase, it's the most counterintuitive of them all. It's the one that flips the script and pulls her closer. By slowing things down, let's break it down. Word number 5. Let's take our time. This last one, it goes against everything the average guy believes. Most men rush, they push, they chase. They try to speed up connection, hoping that urgency will win her over. But what they don't realize is the fastest way to lose her is by trying to rush her. That's why this phrase is so powerful. Let's take our time. It's not just words. It's a signal, a deep magnetic message that says, I'm not in a hurry. I'm not desperate. I'm not chasing validation. And that energy, that calm, grounded restraint, it makes you irresistible. When you say this, you create space. Space for trust. Space for tension. Space for desire to build. Because real attraction isn't rushed. It breathes. This phrase tells her, you're not trying to get somewhere. You're here for the experience, not just the outcome. That's Stoicism. That's mastery over impulse. That's the difference between boys who chase and men who lead. Let's be honest, when a man says, let's take our time, What he's really saying is, I'm not emotionally needy. I have options. I value depth over dopamine, and most importantly, I trust the process. Imagine you're getting closer to a woman. Things are heating up. She's testing the waters, maybe seeing how fast you want to move. Now, most guys, they take the bait, asterisk. They try to escalate. They rush to the next level. But you pause, you lean in, and with a calm smile, you say, let's take our time. That one line spoken slowly changes everything, because in her world, that's rare. Most men rush the fire. You let it burn slow, and that slow burn, that's where intimacy lives. There's a deeper reason this works. Women are biologically wired to feel first, decide later. They don't fall for fast words. They fall for slow trust, and when you give her that time, without pulling away, without pushing too far, she feels safe, not just physically. Emotionally, she relaxes into the moment. She starts to see you differently, not as another man trying to get something, but as a man who can hold tension without flinching. That's the Stoic superpower, restraint. So when do you say this phrase? When the moment feels like it's rushing forward, when she's unsure, when your gut says, slow down and build deeper. Say it, mean it, let it land. Let's take our time. You'll be shocked at how she reacts, because here's the truth. The man who's willing to wait is usually the man worth waiting for. And now you have all 5. Not tricks, not pickup lines, but truth. Words that reflect presence. Words that reveal your emotional control. Words that most men never say, because they're too afraid to slow down and lead with purpose. I understand you. I got this. That's not true. I respect that. Let's take our time. These aren't just phrases. They're signals that say, I know who I am. I know what I bring, and I don't need to rush to prove it. That is what makes you unforgettable. Now, let's wrap it all up. So now you know 5 simple phrases, 5 powerful truths, and 5 opportunities to shift from chasing to attracting. Let's run them back, but this time not just as words, as principles you live by. These aren't magic spells. They're reflections of who you are when you stop trying to impress and start showing up with clarity, intention, and inner calm. So now the question becomes, which one will you use first? Which moment will you choose not to react, but to respond with stoic presence? Remember, most men speak to be heard. You speak to connect. And that alone puts you in a category of 1. If this resonated with you, if something inside you clicked, then this channel is your space. This is where men grow deeper, not louder, where attraction isn't about tricks. It's about truth. So here's what to do next. Hit the like button if this gave you real value. Drop a comment below which of these 5 phrases are you ready to embody. And most importantly, subscribe, because we're just getting started. This is more than dating advice. This is the Stoic way of connection. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Stay grounded, stay focused, and stay unforgettable.